Stop. Novus 517. Big news, big announcement today. We do have a date for our first Wednesday night back. It will be October 7th, obviously of next month, because this month is September, next month is October. So our first Wednesday night back will be October 7th. Some things will look a little bit different. We will be distancing ourselves. Masks will be welcomed. They're not fully going to be required because we are distancing ourselves to begin with. So if you would like to wear a mask, please do so. I do plan on wearing mine. When I speak, I'll have it off, but I will also be a distance away from you guys. So we will be having our Wednesday night youth on October 7th. So please be there. If you are just missing being back together just as much as I am, I'm super excited and super thrilled to be able to see all of your faces again and just be able to talk to you in person. So October 7th. Put it on your calendars, put it on your parents' calendars, put it on your grandparents' calendars, invite your friends. It's going to be a fun time. Just being able, like I said, to be back together in person, just praising and worshiping God. We're going to have a great time, and I hope to see you guys there. So, besides that, there's one other announcement. The youth yard sale will be November 6th and 7th. I believe it's a Friday, Saturday as usual. So that week leading up, we will need help at times after school. There will be a sign-up sheet at some point for you to be able to sign up, likely for an AM shift and a PM shift, just trying to limit how many people are there at one time. There'll be different regulations for guests as well coming into the yard sale. So look out for a sign-up sheet for that. Other than that, let's go ahead and pray. Let's get started. Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for just always being there for us. You know, through the good and through the bad, God, you never change. Your love never changes. God, even as we seem to change and grow, and just troubles just seem to change and get worse sometimes, you never do, God. You never change. You're always there, and that's not something that we need to worry about. So just don't let us worry, God. Give us the ability to just be able to know that you are in control and that you know what's next, God. And all this, we just love you, God. In your name, amen. So tonight is slightly different. Rather than start a new series, so I don't want to start a series and then we start meeting again in person and then pick up that series. We're going to start a new series on October 7th, and then up until then, we're going to simply be doing just videos with singular lessons. You might get one where it's a back-to-back week, but as of right now, there's not going to be in any sort of series or anything. They're just going to be single lessons. Tonight, we're actually going to do more of a devotion. Rather than, going through a huge, long lesson. I say huge, long lesson. 15, 20 minutes, that's not bad. But instead of doing that, we're just simply going to be doing a small devotion tonight. And it's just simply going to be on do not worry. We're going to look at a couple of verses, and then we're also going to flash back into a series that my first week we did. And it was titled God's Plan. And I made the joke, I love my mama too, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. And that's the same thing here. God has a plan for all of us. He has a plan for this world. And we just need to trust and not worry, because He knows what's going to happen. Remember, His plan is perfect. So, Matthew chapter 6, verse 33 through 35. When it comes to the devotion, those are the three verses we're going to look at. And it just simply tells us not to worry, that God knows what tomorrow holds. And because of that, we don't need to worry. So, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, like I just said. For tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. So how often, in general, do each one of you worry? Do you worry about whether or not you're going to pass a test, worry about whether or not you're going to make a team, cheerleading team, basketball team, football team, curling team, running team, track team. What do you worry about? Are you going to have friends at a new school? Those of you who maybe went up to middle school, or from middle school to high school, or maybe you were in one high school but now you're in a new high school. Those of you who are in collegiate, obviously right now you're online. But when you go back and you're back in person, do you worry whether or not you're going to have friends? Whether you're going to be able to make new friends? Are your parents, are they just going through a hard time financially maybe? Or, do you worry for them? It's just an amazing thing how much time and energy we spend in worrying when we read these verses here, and it tells us not to worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow, yes, does hold a lot of trouble, but we need to know that God is in control, that God can calm us. God can relieve our stress. If you watched our back to school video that some of you youth and I put together, one of the things we talked about was making time for God, because God can relieve stress and can take care of your worries. He can relax you. Our challenge is to take these worries and concerns and to give them to God. Because God's going to show us the way. Remember, last week, there was a first grader, third grader, second grader. I don't remember what grade it is. Maybe kindergarten, who knows. But either way, he's at PE. One of the coaches kept telling him, don't touch the fence. Don't touch the fence. Every time he ran down, don't touch the fence, and he kept doing it. And coach told him, when we're done running, come to me. Because he was going to get in trouble. There was going to be consequences for his actions. And I went and I told him, I said, hey, to the kid, I said, you need to listen. I said, did you hear him say not to touch the fence? And he looked at me and he shook his head. I said, but then why did you run down every single time and touch the fence? And he just looked at me with a blank face. I told him, and along with the 6 other boys that were there, I said, it's not enough to just listen. You need to listen, but then go and do. Your actions need to reflect what you just heard. And it's no different with God. When He talks, you need to listen, but listening is not enough. You need to go and follow those actions. Obey. Be obedient. God can calm our hearts and our minds. And we can focus on what we need to, because He gives us the ability and the possibility to be able to do that. Not to worry about tests, not to worry about our parents, not to worry about our friends at school that we may or may not make. God gives us the strength and the ability to not worry about that, but we need to choose to pick Him. We need to choose that He knows what He's talking about, and we don't need to worry. I told you we were going to jump back into that God's Plan series, because I wanted to read another verse to you, Psalms 139:16. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. So before we were on this world, God knew. He had every single one of our days planned out. He knew what you were going to do tomorrow, or what you are going to do tomorrow. He knew what you did 3 weeks ago. What you're ashamed of that you've been holding in for years, He knows. He knew before it happened. What you've been so ashamed to tell God that you've done. Maybe, like I said, there's some you did years ago and you're just too ashamed to bring that to God. You're like, there's no way God's going to accept me after that. There's no way. There's no way God's going to love me after I did that. Well, guess what? He chose to love you knowing what you did and what you're going to do. We said the first thing in that God's Plan series, first thing we need to understand is that God's plans are not our plans. It was something that we simply needed to understand, that God's plans are not our plans. We choose way too often to choose our plan when we should be choosing God's plan. Our second thing was God's good is not our good. And this is a tough one. It's a very tough one to understand, is that God's good is not our good. Because God can take what we see as bad and mean it for good. So that thing that you're too ashamed to bring to Him, that may have brought you closer to God. Nothing is an accident. Nothing is a surprise to God. God's plan is perfect. So when something bad to us happens, God may not be looking at that as bad, because His plan is perfect. And if that is in His plan, then it is perfect. And it's a hard truth and reality sometimes to understand. I don't understand it sometimes, still to this day, as to why certain things happen. Why God would let this happen to me or to my family. It's just, it's a tough thing to see and recognize. And then our last thing was, God's good plan for you is Christ. At the end of our life, do we have Christ or do we not have Christ? Because our goal is to have Christ. But not only us have Christ, all those people around us to have Christ as well. Do not worry, because God is in control and God knows what's next. God knows your path. He knew your path before you knew there was a path. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Let's go ahead and pray. Dear God, thank you for this day. We just want to come to you just being so thankful, God, for everything you've done in our lives, for allowing us at times to not worry, even though that worry has gotten the best of us, God, and we've fallen off of your plan and your track, God. We just pray for comfort, God. We just want to know that peace. We want to know your peace, God. I know that, Lord, you'll carry me through anything. And just please we just want to lift up our concerns to you, God, our worries to you, because we know that you can relieve that stress and you can take those worries, God. God, we love you. And we praise in your name. Amen. That is it for tonight, guys. Again, if you did not hear in the beginning, I don't know how you wouldn't have heard in the beginning, October 7th is our first Wednesday night youth back. I just want to double check. That is a Wednesday. And yep, it is a Wednesday. That's what I thought. October 7th is our first Wednesday night back. I hope to see you there. I hope to see your friends there. Other than that, love you. Peace.